Okay, so this is a sample presentation I made. It's just 2 slides and it's really goofy, but it has audio and it has annotations, which are some of the features built into the PowerPoint. Now, when I say PowerPoint, the caveats are I am using the current version of Office 365 on a PC and the full application versions, not the web versions. Okay. How they look on a Mac, if you're using a Mac, I don't know. I haven't seen them there. When you're recording, and I'm going to go through the process, I'm going to walk you through the process of recording in a second. You have the option of, as you'll see on this video, I have a little window at the bottom right with capturing my live video over the PowerPoint. There are pluses and minuses to that. The biggest minus is it exponentially increases the file size. I'm going to go ahead and just see what happens if I hit play. Welcome to this sample video presentation. Sit dolor emet, which of course comes from the Latin. And then there's this Latin stuff here, which you got to admit, I know I'm still recording. What if I hit stop? So just to give you a feel for what you can do. It's goofy, obviously, but it demonstrates that you can annotate with some tools and you can add video and you can talk over a PowerPoint. This would be the state of the recording after the fact, after you've completed it, right? And you're in PowerPoint. And if you click on File here and click Export, one of the options you have, as you can see here, is Create a Video. So when you go to Create a Video, by default, they put it at full HD. That makes a pretty big file and you don't really need it at that level. I tend to pick 720p, which is a medium file, and it's strong enough quality when you post it to YouTube to get a really good presentation. I leave the rest at the default, and then you just go ahead and click on Create Video. And this is just going to ask you where you want to save it, and it saves it with the same file name as an MP4 video. And then when you go ahead and hit Save, it saves it wherever you saved it as an MPEG, as an MP4 file. And now what you would do from this point is you take that MP4 and you'd upload it to YouTube. I'm going to demonstrate that. I'm going to try to demonstrate that later. Let me go ahead and close this file. How did we get to that point? You should see just a new PowerPoint on the screen. And let's assume that this is the PowerPoint file that you want to add a narration to, right? This one just has 2 slides. So I'm going to pretend, and I have no idea how this is going to work on video, but I'm just going to pretend that I am now going to narrate this PowerPoint. So obviously you'd want to have your PowerPoint ready to go before you get to this point. And the idea is that you're going to create a video that you're going to make available to your students that would be the equivalent of a lecture. Before we even get started, some pieces of advice. As I mentioned earlier, whether or not you decide to have it insert the little video of your face as well, which makes it a much larger file. Once you add audio to these PowerPoint files in general can tend to get big. In particular, if you're using images in your PowerPoint and other things that are very large. I've seen, in particular, people from health sciences who add detailed images of the human body and anatomy and physiology and biology and all that kind of stuff. That stuff adds up. Those file sizes really, really add up. And then if you add video and then audio on top of it, you're making very large files. So working with these large files becomes very difficult. And then what becomes relevant is how much RAM you have on your computer and how efficient your operating system is working with that RAM. And then storing it is another issue. And getting it onto the cloud is another issue. So keeping all of these things in mind, some of the things you might want to say, here's my entire PowerPoint and here's the whole lecture that I want to put together. How long is that going to take? Best way to break it up, if you can, is in 15 to 20 minute segments. You can stretch it to a half hour maybe, but I would say ideally 15 to 20 minutes. It bucks the trend of normally when I say when you're creating audio materials and tutorials, I always say 5 minutes or less, 5 minutes or less. But I think the concept of what you're building here is very different from a very brief tutorial. This is more of a lesson where the expectation going in is for a longer form piece of material. And while I think it's okay to even have something that might stretch to an hour or so, because of the limitations of the technology, unless you have a computer with a lot of RAM to work with. When you start working with a PowerPoint that has a lot of graphic and then you're going to narrate it for an hour, you're going to have a file that's really large, and it's going to become very sluggish to work with, because if you don't have enough RAM, it's going to use virtual memory. And I might have lost a few of you already, and that's okay. I don't expect you to understand what that means, but it becomes very sluggish to work with. So if you work in smaller chunks, it will just become easier for you to work with. Okay, so from PowerPoint, I'm going to go to the slideshow on the menu bar, and then click on Record Slideshow. And that's going to take you here to this screen. Now, I'm going to ask one of you to be my eyes and ears if I ask a question, because I have not done this from a presentation. I want to make sure that you're seeing what I hope you see. So you should see the canvas of the recording. So at the top left, you should see right here, a record, a stop, and a replay button. See that?
Yes.
So this is, again, just to remind you, I'm using Office 365, the full application on a PC. How it looks in any other environment, I can't say, other than it could be slightly different. Down at the bottom of the slide, you have a series of colors and you have some annotation tools. There's a pen, a highlighter, and an eraser. There's an indicator telling you what slide you're on and how much time you're recording. There are left and right buttons to navigate through slides. Top, there's a notes button to show you if you have any notes attached to that slide. Those do not get added to the recording if you do. Clear is if you record something and then you pause it or stop it and decide you want to start from scratch. And then there are some settings to make sure you're using, if you have more than one microphone or camera attached to your computer. So when you're ready to record, I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, I'm ready to record my PowerPoint. You go ahead and click on record. You get a countdown. And this is actually part of the recording, but I'm both talking to you and to the PowerPoint at the same time. I'm going to go ahead and click on the black pen. Say, welcome to PowerPoint, 5 tips for a simpler way to work. PowerPoint features a new product called Designer, which helps you get your point across. It suggests professional designs for your presentation based on the content of your slides. And now I'm going to go ahead and hit stop to stop the recording process. Hit pause if you wanted to pause and then continue. You'll see down here, I've recorded a total of 35 seconds, 19 of which are slide 2. You completed the recording, you hit escape to take you back to your presentation, and I am going to hit save here. I'm going to stop sharing it for a second, because I'm hoping that by sharing it this other way, and this is when you are in a WebEx session and you want to show a video or multimedia in general, when you share your content, when you click on the share content screen, and you can all do that now, you're just not going to actually do anything at this point other than bring up the box and then close it. But if you click on share content at the top left, there's a drop-down list, and by default it says optimize for text and images. And if you click that little arrow, there's another option you can select, which I'm going to right now for this one. It says optimize for motion and video, and then it says share your computer audio. And when you do that, that'll make the viewing experience. So now I'm going to go ahead and share this PowerPoint again, and I'm going to go ahead and play it. And this is actually the recording, but I'm both talking to you and at the same time. I'm going to go ahead and click on the black pen, say, welcome to PowerPoint, 5 tips for a simpler way to work. PowerPoint features a new product called Designer, which helps you get your point across. It suggests professional designs for your presentation based on the content of your slides. And now I'm going to go ahead and hit stop. So that just gives you an idea as to what you can do if you wanted to narrate a PowerPoint. You'll notice that here on my PowerPoint screen, there's a little speaker icon indicating that there's audio attached to that. You can see the annotations that I made. And again, when you get to this point, once you've completed building the narrated PowerPoint, you'd go to File, Export, Create a Video, change the resolution to 720p, create video, save it as an MP4. Now you're done with that piece. Now let me see if I can.
Hey, Chris, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So once you've saved the file, can you go back and edit it later? Or do you have to create a new file?
Question.
You can edit the PowerPoint. I've never edited the video narration. I know that you can remove it. There aren't editing tools in there, for example, cutting and pasting. I think, though, that if I'm not mistaken, here's slide one, and you see on slide one, there is this, at the bottom right, there is this speaker icon. That represents the audio for slide one. And if I go to slide two, this is the audio for slide two. You can simply click on this and delete it. So now I've just removed all the audio attached to slide two. And then you can go in, record again, record from current slide, and then just re-record or rename just that slide.
Chris, can I ask a quick question?
Sure, go ahead, Warren.
I mean, you walked us through creating a PowerPoint. Now, what about, can we use that same process with the publisher's PowerPoints in terms of, okay.
You're just opening up a PowerPoint file. Where I started to do the recording, I just opened up a PowerPoint file. So
Okay.
all you would do is open up that PowerPoint and begin the process the same way. Okay, so here I am in YouTube. Some very important pieces of information about YouTube. As long as you have a Google account, you have a YouTube account. In order to be able to upload a video that is 15 minutes or longer in YouTube, you have to have a verified YouTube account. And there is a process to verifying your account. It's super simple. It takes just a couple of steps. You can just go to YouTube's help system and search for verifying your account. Once you've verified your account, you can add any size video that you want. So to add a video to your YouTube account, you simply click this little plus sign up top. There we go. And then you click on upload video. They just changed this. So select files over here. You can either drag it right onto there, or you hit select files and navigate to the file that you just created. Okay, and then it'll just take the title of your video as the title. You can edit it there. And this is just filling in features for YouTube, to a playlist, what have you. I tend to allow embedding, deselect publish to subscriptions, and I uncheck this, show how many viewers like and dislike this video. And then you go next, and I ignore this stuff. This is all new stuff. With YouTube, it's made public. That means it could show up on a search and anyone can see it. I tend to make my personal videos that I use for my classes unlisted. And when you make it unlisted, it's not private per se, but it will never show up in a search. So as long as you're using it within your classes and either embedding the videos or putting links into your course, unless your students share it with other people, no one else will be able to find it. The problem with making it private is in order for anyone to see it private, you have to kind of add them as a viewer on your YouTube account, and that becomes kind of annoying. So I think unlisted is a pretty good medium ground. And then you go ahead and hit save. Now, the biggest advantage, folks, of using YouTube, because some people say, well, why can't I just take that MP4 file and bring it into my Blackboard course? And technically you can do it, but there's a couple of reasons you don't want to. Blackboard does not have streaming capability. So when a student clicks on an MP4 file in Blackboard, Blackboard's going to attempt to load that entire file into the computer's memory or to the device's memory, which, unless it's a very short video, it's going to be much longer. And it's just going to stutter, and it's not going to play properly. Then it's not going to adjust automatically to the screen size of whatever device they're using. YouTube is a proven medium. It works anywhere. It works on a mobile device of any size and shape. It works on every computer platform. It's just they can use it on their television sets, on their Roku stick and their sticks. It's just a much more flexible and versatile streaming medium. And it's much easier for you because it adds no weight to your course as well. When you post an MP4 file that may be 500 megabytes long, that's taking 500 megabytes of space in your course. When you post a link or even an embedded file from YouTube, it takes no space at all. So it's just a much better experience for the students and much easier to manage for yourself. The other thing too is, if you're an adjunct and you teach the same material at other schools, it gives you a little bit more flexibility as to how you're distributing your own intellectual property. Just something to think about. That is the PowerPoint medium. Now, is it a good system, a bad system? I think it really depends on your end result. What if I just did the same thing and I recorded a WebEx? We know that just like we're recording this session here, we know that you can record a WebEx session. So imagine, if you will, taking the class away, not having a live class and wanting to prepare materials in advance the same way. You'd go into your WebEx personal room and start a meeting, and you'd be the only person in the meeting, but you can still share your content. You can still share your screen, and you can still talk, and you can still record the session. Once you record the session, always, 100% of the time, always, by the way, record your WebEx sessions to the cloud. That's step one. You never want to record them to your personal machine. For space considerations. Two, for flexibility. Once you've recorded it to the cloud, it gets stored in WebEx's servers. You can then download it and have a second copy of it. And then, in fact, what I'm going to recommend doing is record it, store it in the cloud. Then once it's complete, download it. Now, two reasons why you'd want to do that. One is you'd have automatic captioning. Although if you're going to post it to YouTube, you can get your automatic captioning in YouTube as well. Now, once you download the MP4, you can either upload it directly to your YouTube account, partly because you want the better experience. But if you don't have a YouTube or you want to forego that step, there's and I'm going to show you this in WebEx. Once the recording is processed, it gives you a share link, and you can provide just that link to your students, and they'll see it on WebEx's servers, and it will stream fantastic as well. Auto caption in WebEx right now is set to do it automatically. So if you're recording a session, it should caption it automatically. Yeah, Tony, did you have something?
One question, because I've been recording for my classes, part of the class, but I noticed I was doing the stuff for the open house, and the question is, I don't know if that's normal, like a 3-minute video, it took almost like 24 hours to process. I mean, is that normal that it takes so long to process the video? Because I see other platforms like Zoom, you record something and it's right away. I don't know if because it's in the cloud and it's faster when you do it on your own computer. I mean, I don't know, is that?
I've noticed it's taking longer than usual. They typically say, in particular, part of the reason ours are taking a little bit longer is because we've added the captioning.
The closed caption, okay. Yeah.
So I think it says it triples. I know that when you're not using captioning, they say 1.5 to 2 times the length of the recording is the average. And I think the captioning doubles that. Let me see if I can share. Can you see my personal room here? So what you would do if you wanted to record, say, a video in WebEx, you would simply do start a meeting. This could potentially get ugly here. I did this once before, and it was a meeting inside of a meeting, and it created this weird echo. In fact, I may not even go further than this. So the premise is you would start your meeting, and you would go ahead and do whatever it is you'd want to do in terms of capturing something. You would show a PowerPoint. You would lecture. Remember that if you're going to show a video or multimedia, to do that step that I showed you earlier, and then end your meeting when you're done. And I'm going to click on my recordings here, and that's once your recording is done, you remember, of course, to start your recording. I think you're all aware that you can start a recording, but are you aware that you can pause a recording while it's in process? From within your meeting, if you've already in a recording, you just go ahead, and if you just hit the record button, if you click on the record button again while it's recording, a little box will come up, show you that it's currently recording, and give you the option to pause or stop your recording. So let's say you're in the middle of a session and you lost your train of thought. Or if you're in a live recording with a class and you were taking, let's say, a class break, it was a 3-hour class, you were giving your students a 10-minute break, you can pause your recording instead of having that recording. Once you've recorded your session and it has processed, it shows up here in this section under your recordings. To download the MP4 file, I'm down here at my bottom one where it says Chris Daniele's personal room. This little arrow facing down is the download button, and when you click on that, it downloads the entire recording as an MP4 file. And now you can take that MP4 file and upload it right to YouTube, or you can edit it if you know how to do video editing. There's another share option as well, and that's this little button right here, this share option. So if I click on this, a couple of pieces of information on this screen. You can either enter email addresses if you just want to share it with a few people. If you wanted to share it in your class on Blackboard, though, the best way to do that is with this. See, you see down the bottom half where it says public link? Over here, there's a URL, and over here, there is a password. At the right of this URL, there's a little blue button. When you point to it, it says copy URL and password. So I'm going to click that, and it says copied. It's just in the clipboard right now. I am going to bring up a Blackboard screen. You'd go to wherever you wanted to post it. You can post it right in an announcement, or you can post it in one of your content areas. The process is the exact same. I'm going to post it in an announcement for this, because it's the closest thing. Type new video. I'm going to go into my text editor box, Control V to paste what I copied. Just going to make it larger so it's easier for you guys to read. I'm going to go full screen. Okay. When it copies it a little bit cockeyed. There's a few steps that make it fairly simple. Obviously, we know a website starts with HTTP or HTTPS. Here's the HTTPS. If you just click in there, whoops, and hit enter, you can separate that from the pack. There's your link. That previous screen, notice this is the password 3BN, etc. That's right over here. You click over there, and now you separated that. Now keep in mind, I'm providing this information to the student. So what do I want the student to see to be able to watch this video? They don't need to see this. So I can identify this like that. And now just for ease, so that they don't have to cut and paste this into their browser, I want to make this a hyperlink in Blackboard. Easiest way, select the whole thing, copy it to your clipboard. So Control C. And then up here on the toolbar where it says Insert Edit Link, the little chain there, click on that, and then paste it into the link path. I like to change the target to open in a new window. And then Insert. I'll minimize this screen, go back to my object. So all I did, I removed the irrelevant part where it said it was my personal room. I identified this as the viewing password, because if a student goes into Blackboard, or anybody, and they are not already logged into WebEx, if they click on this link, it's going to ask for a password. So they need to have this piece of information. I'm going to go ahead and submit this. So when a student goes ahead and clicks on this link, it's going to take them to something that looks like this. And you can enter this link. You can even email it to them. And this is just a streaming video player on WebEx's website. And now they can see the video. It takes a short amount of time to get it to the play point, but then it just plays. Attempt to share this. I'm going to go ahead and stop this. Let me see what questions we have in the chat room that are posted. I will the password. Okay, so here is the link. Let me go back one step. So this is the video as it's been processed in your recordings on WebEx. This is the share link right here. So when you click on this, and here's the public link you're going to share. This is the password, and this is the URL. When you click on this button at the end to copy, it copies both the URL and the password. Now when you go into Blackboard and you want to post it, you click in the content item, and when you paste it, you get a bunch of mishmash. So we need to make this mishmash something that your student can understand, this full screen. So we know the video URL starts with HTTPS. So we click in there and just hit enter to separate it from the rest of the text. And we know the password because we see it over here, 3BN. That's this piece right here. And we separate that. This is irrelevant to the student, so we delete it. We type in front of the password an identifier so the student knows what that is. When they're asked for the password, they know that they have it. And then we took this long URL and made it a hyperlink by selecting it, clicking Insert Link, pasting it to the link path. And then, of course, you can leave it open in window. I always, in particular, when I am using Blackboard, if I'm embedding a video, always like to open it in a new window, because then when they close the video, they don't have to go back into Blackboard. It doesn't take them away. And I click on Insert. Submit. I must have not done something to exit out of the hyperlink, but This is what it looks like when it's an actual hyperlink. Keep in mind, if the student is not logged into WebEx, or anybody, not just the student, if anybody that you're sending this link, this hyperlink to, is not logged into WebEx already, it's going to ask them for the password, and that's why you're providing it here.
Every time that we decide to create a video in WebEx, that video is then deposited into that closet there.
Yep.
Okay, and we can edit that video right from that closet if we decided to.
No, you can't edit it from there. It's the only thing you can do. It's only a repository. All you can do, you can choose to download the MP4 file and then edit the MP4 file and then post it to your YouTube account, or you can just simply provide that share link and they'd see it as it appears in that repository.
Okay, so the MP4 file, that's obviously created in PowerPoint.
It's the same type of file that you created in PowerPoint. In this case, it was created by WebEx.
Okay.
MP4 is just a file type. Just like if you create a Word file, it creates a docx file, a video file. There are a number of different video formats. The one that we want to focus on that WebEx generates is an MP4 file.
Okay. Thanks, Chris.
So, you're welcome. Earlier, someone had asked a question: do I prefer one over the other to using the PowerPoint method or the WebEx method? I think the WebEx method is a little bit cleaner, and I think it's more general. It doesn't isolate your focus to PowerPoint. Does that mean I think doing the PowerPoint narrations is a bad thing? No, not necessarily. What I do strongly suggest, and this is from not just from a little bit of experimentation, this is from many, many, many years of experience in using some of these tools. Take the time, invest a little bit of time into building yourself a YouTube site and verify your YouTube account and use YouTube as the source, YouTube as your landing page. So whether or not you're recording your videos here in WebEx and downloading the MP4s and uploading them back to YouTube, or you're narrating PowerPoints and using the create video option, everything should end up on YouTube. There's a lot of great advantage. It's extremely portable, helps you maintain a sense of ownership of your intellectual property. This is particularly important to adjuncts who travel between schools. If you store something inadvertently, and this, I'm not trying to imply anyone's trying to take ownership of anything from you, but it's a little bit easier to simply access a YouTube site that has no affiliation with any one particular institution by just you having your own Google account than saying, where did I save that? Another problem I see a lot, I work with a lot of you. I've worked with adjuncts that will teach at 5 or 6 different schools in the same semester. Can you imagine if you're running from one school to another school to another school, and you're sitting there working in a mostly inadequate office space, just trying to get some work done, and inadvertently save something to the local computer as opposed to your cloud drive, and not really being sure of where anything is. If you centralize your stuff into the cloud by storing files in the cloud and storing your tutorial stuff at YouTube, you always know where it is, and it's accessible from anywhere you are. Beyond that, as an instructional tool to the student, there is nothing that works better, in my opinion, than the YouTube medium. It's just the industry standard for video. It works on every device. I've never seen YouTube on a device not work the way it was supposed to. And that's just not the case with posting an MP4 file directly into Blackboard, which is a nightmare in most cases, or any other system.
Chris, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So you told us that there are 2 different ways to create a recording of PowerPoint. One is you make in the PowerPoint file, record it, right? And then you put it into YouTube, and then you put in Blackboard.
Correct.
And the other way is, but that way that you don't have automatic caption, right? But if we made a WebEx recording and then download it, edit, and then put it back to YouTube and then to the Blackboard, that will have automatic caption. Is that right?
Yes, I want to make sure that when we talk about the automatic captioning, that's currently built into WebEx recordings. When you watch it through the method of sharing the link, like I shared the link, captions will show up on the right side as well as in the video. When you download the MP4, it's going to download two files. One of them is the video file, and one of them is a transcript file. Now, when you upload them to YouTube, there's a two-step. If you want the captions to go with them, there's a two-step process. You first upload the video.
Okay.
It has to complete processing. And then there's a separate step, which I'm unfortunately not going to have time to illustrate here, where you upload the caption file. Do you need to? Technically, no. And I'll tell you why. Because YouTube has automatic captioning already. So anytime you upload an MP4 file, after it's processed, it usually takes a little bit of time after it's processed, and it does these things called auto captions. So you can simply hit the closed captioning button and it'll give you their version. Now, they have improved dramatically, and I have used them. So the one thing I want to make clear to everybody here, and why this is important, is because we have to make sure that there's a difference between providing captions for convenience and providing captions for ADA compliance with students who are registered with disability services and require captions. In the case where we're talking about compliance, okay, what I have done in a lot of cases is start with the YouTube captions and say to the student, here's what's available right now. Are these adequate for you? The student says that they're adequate. Do that in an email so that it's recorded. If the student agrees that they're fine, then they're fine. And in many cases, they are. If they are absolutely not fine, put in a request to the Office of Disability Services to have your video captioned. We have a service that provides ADA level captioning. Yeah.
So we don't have to import the separate transcript
You
file.
don't have to. You don't have to. It's kind of neat to have, though. You can also take that file, put it into a Word document and fiddle with it a little bit, and now you can provide it as an extra piece of notes.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Any last minute questions before we sign off? Thank you all for participating. I hope that you got some value out of this, and I will touch base with you all soon. Have a great day.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Bye. Thanks.